Yo, it's yo boy. Y'all listen to Cut. So today, bro, we're finna watch Vancouver, Canada's bloody battle. So, hey, let's see if they're on that Canada. You feel me? We seen people in Toronto, but this is Vancouver. So, let's get to this.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. For this episode, we do something brand new. But before we get into the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. The Instagram page was deleted, but you can DM this new account to record. Video is for educational purposes only. This is all history and we get here. Well, I was scrolling through the comments and noticed a couple requests. Do Canada, do Vancouver. And my first reaction was, wait, are you joking? Canada? Canada? Like, what am I gonna talk about? Maple syrup thieves? But then I thought to myself, maybe I should look into it. So I did my research, and wow, this one is interesting. And how come I've never heard about it? The answer is pretty simple. We have so much going on here, we tend to forget about our neighbors up north. We often assume that there's no problems up there, like it's some sort of unique paradise where everyone gets along perfectly. But that's just because we never hear about them. But in this video, you'll get to see a side of Canada that you never thought you would see. Before we dive into all that, let me paint the picture of Canada for you. Instead of states, Canada has 12 provinces, which are essentially the same thing. In this video, we will focus on Canada's westernmost province called British Columbia,
12?
also known as BC. In the bottom of BC,
never seen that flag.
Located right off the US border, is Vancouver. Technically, Vancouver was founded in 1886 by the British, but let me show love to the original residents. The Squamish tribe lived in the Vancouver area for thousands of years. Then the British discovered gold on the Fraser River, and we all know how this story goes. Over 100,000 British people began living in the area. Now home to 600,000 residents, Vancouver is known as a very wealthy, quiet city. It was actually ranked as one of the world's most livable cities. So overall, Vancouver is pretty nice. Aside from the 192 rainy days per year, yep, that's over half the year. So bring your umbrella or else you're gonna get drenched. And speaking of drenched, Vancouver has another side to it, and the statistics are nothing to laugh at. Let me list off some cities: San Francisco, New York City, San Diego, and Austin, Texas. Why do I bring up these American cities, you may be wondering? Well, Vancouver, Canada has a higher homicide rate than all of these cities, whether you want to believe it or not.
Damn. And they kind of smaller too though. They only got 600K. That's how it is in Boston, you feel me? I don't really fuck with Boston like that, but I know some niggas from here. I know a few niggas from here, actually. But, yeah, bro, I think there's like 800K people over there, but 600K, that's not that much. Because Boston is small as fuck, bro. So if that's already small like how it is, 600K is small.
It's the truth, but things operate differently in Vancouver. Everything that happens has a reason, and you'll see why. It all works from the top to the bottom, with the bosses at the top making sure they can handle their business. Pretty much like the old school Italians. So let me introduce you to the Don Corleones of Vancouver, Canada. But before we get into it, let me run the intro. Psych! Let me introduce you to the Independent Soldiers, also known as the IS. They originally formed in the Sunset neighborhood of South Vancouver. Initially, they called themselves the Sunset Boys. They were mostly made up of Punjabis. For those who don't know, they originate in a northern region of India called Punjab, and they moved to Vancouver in the 1960s. They now make up nearly 10% of Vancouver's population. Well, anyways, by 1992, they would begin calling themselves
this beat in the back.
IS to show independence from other organizations in Vancouver. Together,
this a young boy type beat. I'm not gonna lie. They have that little sound that in the background.
The IS had one goal: profit, and they were going to do whatever it took to get rich. They had three main leaders: Manjit, also known as Peter, Amarjit, and Gorinder. Forgive me if I messed that up, I don't mean to. But these leaders made strong rules that were not to be messed with. First rule is zero tolerance for any use of substances. Zero. The second rule is talking to officers. Any IS affiliate or member is strongly prohibited from ever speaking to the law under any circumstances. And lastly, you are never allowed to disrespect your associates. A violation of any of these rules is going to result in termination.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Or even that first one though, a lot of people nowadays don't be following that type of code. You feel me? Not that it was that much of a code that much back then, maybe, but nowadays people don't really follow that code. Niggas be getting faded OD. You feel me? So yeah,
even worse.
But that's good though, cause a lot of niggas do get caught lacking when they off some shit. I'm not gonna lie.
You will end up in the Pacific Ocean swimming with the fishes. There's a reason for these strict rules. Leaders see these rules as key to success in the underground. And in the early 1990s, this was absolutely true. The IS were making bank, and their main source of income was, let's say they were pharmacists. Really good pharmacists. The IS were expert pharmacists. But just like everyone says, more money, more problems. When more money is coming in, jealousy follows. Always, no matter what. In 1994, Internal Affairs would break up South Vancouver. Within the next 2 years, all 3 IS leaders would pass away. Many would speculate that this was caused by their internal affair with the elite faction of the IS. But just like any organization, new leaders would step up and take their places. The internal affairs were somehow resolved, and it was back to business as usual. But that's when competition came along in Vancouver.
Yeah.
The IS were no longer the only factors. Let me not get ahead of myself. I'll explain it like this. Everything came down to the Dosanjh brothers. Ron
Look, this is how I'm gonna say it. You feel me? Before he even covers the whole thing down. I haven't watched this, but usually how it goes down, bro, it's like once a faction splits up or some shit, once a whole group splits up, that's and niggas want to be leaders. Certain niggas, they get envious, they get jealous, and they want to be the leaders, and that causes a lot of conflict internally. It does. And while you're having all that internal conflict, yeah, you guys could separate. Those dudes might want to make a different faction, different group. You never know. And also, while you guys are going through all of that, your ops and stuff, they winning. You feel me? They not worrying about that, at least not right now. You feel me? So while you're doing that, that's slowing down everything. That's slowing stuff down. That's slowing the bread.
Jimmy.
While everyone else around you, they not getting slowed down at all.
Dosanjh. They were the leaders of the IS and all their subgroups. They had a young superstar named Bindi Johal. He made a name for himself as a teenager for bad behavior and was expelled from many high schools. Despite this, he was extremely popular. Everyone looked up to him. Maybe for his personality, but most likely for his money and swagger. Bindi Johal was known for making money, plain and simple. He really caught the attention of the Dosanjh brothers, and they would bring him in to work under their wing. Bindi was known to bring in $70,000 to $90,000 per week while working for them. But when Jimmy Dosanjh would go to jail, Bindi saw a golden opportunity. He realized that on his own, he could make way more money. He didn't feel like he needed the protection anymore. Bindi Johal would do exactly that.
That's what I'm saying, bro. People maybe not getting greedy, but maybe he just split up and ain't conversate most. Ain't conversate his opinions and how he feels like that, how he really wanted to. Or he could have just not cared at all and been tight that he wanted to leave. Because a lot of people do get tight when people that they started out with, once they make it or get up, and then they start separating, they get tight. They start to feel away like, oh, when we was nothing, you feel me? You was sticking with me. Now that you got some bread, you want to dip. That's how they feel.
First, he would make sure that there were no problems with IS. Because remember, as long as you don't disrespect them, you don't violate the rules. And so for the time being, everything would be okay between Bindi and the Dosanjh brothers. So let's head to the mid-90s. Bindi Johal began making $500,000 to $900,000 per week on his own. Now let me grab the calculator. That's between $26 million and $47 million per year. This dude, Bindi Johal, was balling. He was making Steph Curry money. But wait, let me put this into perspective. In 1995, Shaquille O'Neal's salary was $5.7 million. So Bindi Johal was balling more than any NBA player. He was swagged out too. Bindi was really dripped out. Look at the dude. And along with the money, Bindi loved attention. He wanted to be a celebrity, so he would constantly go to the club in brand new supercars with tons of cash. And this new lavish persona may have started a problem. When Jimmy Dosanjh would be released, he was not pleased with who Bindi had become. Now look, who am I to say anything? But maybe he was jealous, but maybe Bindi had just taken his clients. Or maybe Bindi was violating the rules of respect. Who knows?
Also that.
But either way, the Dosanjh brothers would declare Bindi Johal as their main enemy. So Bindi Johal would become associates with the Buttar family. And this is when
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what happened.
Vancouver would get crazy. Welcome to 1994. The Dosanjh brothers were not playing. They would drop a bag, $230,000 to be exact.
Damn.
They could no longer tolerate Bindi Johal. But this brought no fear to Bindi, and he would get in touch with the man that they hired, and oh my god, this is amazing. Check this out. He would have a meeting with the man that the Dosanjh brothers hired. The simple fact that he knew who it was tells me that some IS members were relaying him information behind the Dosanjh brothers' back. Anyways, listen to this. He would meet with the man and offer him $460,000 cash. He would tell him to turn on Jimmy Dosanjh. Let me tell you, money talks, straight up. February 25th, 1994. Bam. Remember how I said Bindi loves fame and wants to be a celebrity? Well, directly after this incident, Bindi would violate basically every rule in the book. He would go on national television and do an interview where he would make fun of Jimmy Dosanjh.
I mean, I guess he was a very serious person. From what I've seen of him on the street, I personally think he couldn't have hit his way out of a paper bag.
And this move right here would get Ron Dosanjh to do something super uncharacteristic. He would go on national TV and threaten Bindi Johal.
Bindi, I'm here and I'm bad-mouthing you, buddy. Okay? If you want to talk about nobody, if anybody's a nobody, buddy, maybe that's why your life is worth a loony on the streets today. I wouldn't in the back, but it'd do it right face to face, square in the forehead.
2 weeks later, Ron Dosanjh would be at a stoplight on Kingsway Street in Vancouver. Bam!
Damn.
So after this incident, an investigation of Bindi Johal would begin. So in response, he would go into hiding in a remote area of British Columbia. So he had a dog, right? And for some reason, he didn't want to bring it along. So he would kindly ask his neighbor Glenn Olson to take care of his dog while he was gone. Glenn Olson would agree. April 24th, 1994. Glenn Olson would be walking Bindi's dog through the neighborhood, but that's when a car pulls up, and bam! This incident was a huge deal in Canada for the simple fact that Greg Olson was a regular guy just walking a dog, but it showed Vancouver residents one important thing. These guys do not care who you are. Regardless of this, Bindi would return to Vancouver and he would do another interview.
You got another thing coming?
That's how it is, bro. If you not really like, if you tied in and you portraying that lavish lifestyle, bro, there's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna want to take that from you. I'm not gonna lie. Once you do that, bro, you kind of enter a whole different side where it's like you gotta be way more cautious wherever you go, cause it could be anybody, and like not even people you know, just randoms. So you gotta be careful when you do that.
I'm still around.
But at this point, Vancouver.
Or if you is gonna do that, at least don't be in the city all the time. At least don't have the same type of movements you was. You feel me? Like, unless, I don't know, bro, because nigga like Kodak, he been in the hood. You feel me? Him and Jack Boy niggas beefing, but Kodak he kind of got the whole hood on his side, so it's kind of different for him. But these niggas, though, this a whole organization, like, you feel me?
Decided that enough was enough. They would launch $1 million operation to take down Bindi and the Buttar family. Success. In just a few weeks, they would catch everyone. They would release everyone on bail except for Bindi. And this right here was the biggest mistake possible. One of the men released was named Peter Gill, a handsome man. So they say. Not me. I didn't say that. But I mean, I'm repeating. Never mind. Well, one of the women on the jury would agree that Peter was quite handsome. Her name is Jillian Guest, and during the trial, her and Peter would make eye contact and smile at each other. And one day after court, Peter would ask her on a date, and yep, they would go on a date together. That took place at Peter's house. And it's safe to say that Peter did his Dougie. Interestingly enough, 3 months later, Peter along with Bindi would be found not guilty by the jury. And 3 weeks later, Jillian and Peter would go to the club together. But police would begin following them after they saw what was going on. They would later find out that the two were dating. And just a few weeks later, both of them would be arrested for obstruction of justice. But here's the thing. In Canada, the law says that you can't be tried for the same thing twice, no matter what. So Bindi would remain free. This guy is amazing. He seems like he just finesses every situation. He pretty much began acting untouchable, and this is when he and the Buttar family really began operating together. But Johal's pride would be his downfall. He would begin paying the Buttar family to handle all his business, even for situations that had calmed down years ago. For example, Johal believed that he knew who was responsible for his neighbor Glenn Olson. He believed it was an IS man named Gorinder, one of the leaders. October 21st, 1997. Bam! Bindi began having no rules for himself, and he started always acting off emotions. You know how at the end of Goodfellas, how Henry starts losing himself and causing issues for no reason? Well, this is the same thing. September 19th, 1998. Bindi Johal's friend and associate named Derek Shankar would get in a disagreement with him. Bindi Johal felt disrespected, so he would drive Derek out to a bridge. They would walk to a place under the bridge, and bam! After this incident, more of Johal's associates would be missing. This would cause problems with the Buttar family. They felt like Bindi had become reckless. December 20th, 1998. Bindi Johal would be at his favorite nightclub in Vancouver called Palladium. That's when a man walks behind him and bam!
Damn.
Well, once this happened, everything fell apart. Bal Buttar ended up getting sick with a rare infection, so he decided to tell all to the media. He would admit to being responsible for Bindi Johal, claiming he had to do it. Bindi was just too reckless. Bal Buttar would pass away in 2011. The new era. 11 years would go by, and guess who would still be around? The IS. Many would attribute their longevity to strict rules, but IS would have some new rivals. This would lead to Vancouver's worst year of all time. It was bad, like really bad.
Really?
But I figure I'll save that for a second episode if you guys want that. This story gets more and more interesting. Something about Canada. I don't know how to explain it. But before we end, let me talk about the silver lining behind this story. You can't defeat the game. Bindi Johal is a prime example of that. You are never above the consequences. You are never above the consequences no matter how rich you get. And realistically, he probably caused more damage than he did good. But hey, at the end of the day, it makes for good entertainment and lessons for the future generation. But on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Swamp Story.
Hey, that's it. Video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. You feel me? Leave a like on the video. Let me know what you want me to react to down in the comment section down below. And hey, catch you on the next one, bro. Stay safe.